All right, here we go. Adeleye versus TKV about to kick off. Ding, ding, round one. Say when the bell goes. There's the bell, round one. Adeleye TKV. Adeleye wearing some high pink socks. Not sure about the fashion choice, but what do I know about fashion? TKV getting a couple of sharp jabs off. He scores first. He's got Adeleye in a headlock. All right, both guys clinching a couple of times here in the early going, first 30 seconds. TKV looking like he wants to box his way into the fight. I'm just checking my mic level here, see if I'm loud enough. Nice jabs from TKV so far. Adeleye hasn't really managed to land anything of note yet. Slips a shot there from TKV, does Adeleye. Both guys in center ring just jockeying for position. Looking for their jabs. TKV looks pretty sharp so far with his movements. Again, getting his jab off. Definitely getting the better of it with a jab so far. Not all of them are landing clean, but he's just quicker to get it off. Adeleye just biding his time. Jab to the body from TKV, feinting. Adeleye feints back, stalks. You know, I did wonder whether it would be TKV on the front foot and Adeleye on the back foot, but so far it's the other way around. TKV looking to circle the perimeter of the center of the ring, if that even makes sense. It's Adeleye in the center, TKV just outside the center, willing to give a bit of ground, presumably hoping to counter the stuff that Adeleye throws. Is TKV maybe a little nervous here? I mean, nerves can be a good thing, obviously. They can help to make you sharper, but you can also burn energy if you're really nervous. TKV comes in with a couple shots. Adeleye looking to counter. Adeleye definitely looks like the more relaxed fighter here. But TKV has landed more shots than Adeleye has so far in the first round. Nothing damaging. Shout out to Ben for the super chat. He says, Hrgovic said Joyce is slow as fog. Yeah, I saw that in the press conference. Back to center ring. Both guys feinting. Looking for the jabs. There's a nice jab there from TKV. Also attempts a left hook to the body. Adeleye hasn't really found his range yet. There's the end of round one. So interesting first round there. Not too much solid landed. A few jabs from TKV. That's about it. Shout out to everybody in the chat. It's an impromptu stream as usual. Let's see what Adam Booth can tell Adeleye in the corner. See if he's any better in the second round. Not like he was bad in the first round, but he was just struggling to find his range a little bit there. TKV managed to get the drop on him a little bit. Here we go, round two. Bell's just gone. Both guys center ring. Adeleye looking to feint. Try and get his jab off. TKV jabs to the body. Feints back. Jab to the head. Attempt there from TKV. Doesn't quite land. TKV definitely sharper than I've seen him before. Adeleye now gives up center ring and he's going to call in TKV on. He's finding him a little awkward in the middle of the ring with a jab. but doesn't manage to produce any offense. And as I said in the previous stream, this is the lightest that TKV has been, I think, since 2022. The second lightest weight of his career, so he's taken this one very, very seriously. Shout out to Mr. Luca in the chat. Shout out to Fight Sport Talk. Jab falls short from Adeleye there. Battle of the jabs so far. This one not catching fire. The styles are not really gelling. TKV just looking to outbox his man at the moment. Not really being that aggressive, but he's active with the jab. For me, he picked up the first round behind the jab, and he's picking up the second round so far. We're halfway through it. Behind the jab as well, just more active with the jab. Adeleye a little bit puzzled, a little bit confused by TKV's boxing at the moment. Again, feints from TKV. It's not really spectacular from him, but I guess it's effective. There's a right hand on the inside from TKV there. Not a particularly hard shot, but it did get in. TKV doing quite a bit of clinching now. Okay, he's getting warning from the referee for the holding. Big right hand there from Adeleye was partially blocked by TKV. He kind of acknowledges it. There's TKV. Adeleye trying to turn the screw here. And just punch through a lot of the boxing that TKV is trying to do. Because if it carries, there's a good jab there from TKV. If it carries on like this, Adeleye is just going to have to grit down on the gum shield and take the fight to him. At the moment, he's trying to box with him, and TKV is getting the better of the boxing. Like I say, it's not pretty, but he's getting the job done. That was a left hook attempt there from Adeleye. I think it was blocked. Right hand there from Adeleye does stun TKV right towards the end of the round. It appeared to stun him and push him into the ropes. The round's over anyway. Ended a few seconds ago. So heated up a little bit there. Mr. Lucas says too much coddling. Yeah, I think TKV's initiating most of it. Perhaps it's part of his strategy to try and frustrate David Adeleye, take the fight into the second half, tire him out, and then maybe he'll come on if the fight goes that long. We'll see. Round 3 about to start. There's the bell. Adeleye, TKV. Both guys back to center ring. TKV being active with a jab again. Jabbing downstairs, then jabbing upstairs. Adeleye attempting a left hook there, but way off. Some nice cheeky little shots on the inside from TKV there. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Cheeky right hand again on the inside from TKV. But at the moment, it's Adeleye the hunter and TKV the hunted, or maybe a better way of describing it would be Adeleye the bull and TKV the matador. And the matador is managing to frustrate the bull so far in this fight. Jab again from TKV. He's picking his spots well with that jab. Nice and fluid with it. And I like the variation, upstairs, downstairs. Adeleye going for his feints as well. Nice jab again from TKV. Then coming in with a big right hand. That's the first proper right hand that TKV has attempted. Adeleye trying to come back with a left hook. Whoa! Adeleye punching TKV in the kidney when TKV's back was turned there. He's going to get a warning from the ref for that one. Ref telling TKV not to turn around, but yeah, Adeleye Shouldn't be punching him in the kidney like that. Getting a talking to from the ref. They touch gloves. Back into the fray. TKV back on the jab. I think it's clear already, just from the first 3 rounds, that Adeleye is not going to get the better of the jab contest, the jabbing contest. And he's not going to outbox TKV based upon what we're seeing here. So he's going to need to get more physical and take the fight to him. Adeleye is now on the ropes, trying to draw TKV in, hoping to counter him with something. And there was the left hook attempt from Adeleye, and it wasn't even close to hitting the target. So I think Adeleye is going to need to take it to his man here rather than trying to box with him, because these are rounds that TKV is picking up. And TKV just needs to keep doing this. Again, working the jab up and down. He's not trying to rush the right hand. He's just waiting for the opportunity. Working his jab, winning the rounds that way. And if an opportunity comes to land the right, he'll let it go. So, clever boxing from TKV so far. Again, not a thrilling fight up to this point, but effective from TKV. Good jab there again. Adeleye misses with a right uppercut. Tries to come back with a jab to the head. TKV kind of leans away from it, takes the sting off the shot. That's the end of round 3. So for me, that's 3-0 to TKV. Adam Booth should be telling Adeleye already to switch it up and start getting physical, because, yeah, the boxing ain't working against TKV, clearly. Shout out to D-Man for the super chat. He says, good game plan from TKV, using the jab and not taking risks. I think Adeleye will need to press. I got money on late TKV win. Big up D-Man. Yeah, it's not the fight I expected. I was actually thinking it was going to be TKV pressing the action and Adeleye on the back foot doing the boxing. So TKV has kind of surprised me with his approach. Maybe that's why he came in light, so he could move and could be a bit more sharp and slick than he's been in previous fights. Again, this is the second lightest weight of his career, the lightest he's been since 2022. Here we are, the start of round 4. TKV once again upstairs, downstairs with the jab. Adeleye still doesn't look like he's ready to press the action in any serious way. The pressure from him is not intense enough. Still trying to participate in a jabbing contest with TKV, which he's losing. TKV's jab is more educated, it's more consistent. There it is again. Now they lock up on the inside. TKV definitely showing so far in this fight that he's got the better boxing brain. Body shot there from Adeleye on the inside with a right hand. Battle of the jabs. Adeleye trying to get the right hand off, but blocked on TKV's arm. Pushes TKV against the ropes. Referee breaks him up. 1 minute 47 left in the 4th round. Yeah, the style's really not gelling as far as entertainment here at all. Right hand on the inside there from TKV. Didn't appear to be a particularly hard shot, but landed all the same. Frustrating David Adeleye in there. Lots of clinching here. Referee warning TKV about the use of the head. Don't think there was anything intentional there, but, a bit reckless. Adeleye trying to get the left hook off, but TKV was wise to it and got his gloves up to block it. Jabs Adeleye to the body. Adeleye trying to get the uppercut off on the inside, but not landing. Blocked once more. TKV with the jab. Jabbing upstairs and downstairs. Right hand there from TKV was blocked by Adeleye. TKV now on the front foot. Somebody said Adeleye left the aggression at the press conference. Indeed. He needs to be far more intense with his attacks than this. And TKV is just outthinking him in there. His jab is more educated and better. He's just one step ahead. That's a good jab, though, from Adeleye there. Real solid jab, kind of rocked TKV back onto the ropes. It's the first solid jab he's landed in a while. But he's just getting out-thought and out-jabbed by TKV so far, who is showing he has the better boxing skills. Right hand misses, and there's the end of that round. Charles B says, is Adeleye deliberately not throwing much, knowing it's a 12-rounder? If he is, it's a bad strategy, because you can't afford to be giving away this many rounds. I think he's just surprised by TKV's boxing ability. I know they've shared rounds in sparring and whatnot, but TKV looks a lot sharper here than I've ever seen him before. A lot sharper and a lot slicker. Very educated jab. Upstairs, downstairs, tactical clinching, which is a bit annoying, but it's effective because Adeleye wants to exchange when they get up close, but he's just getting wrapped up. Right, there's a little timeout here. I'm not sure what's going on. The ref is asking the corner to remove some water from TKV's body. Not sure what that's about. It wasn't even off his face, just his body. Anyway, here we go. Round 5, time in. 2:53 left in the round. TKV again jabbing to the body. Finally lets off a right hand there. Not much behind it, but just a quick scoring shot through the middle of Adeleye's guard. Back on the jab. Adeleye with a high guard now. Really cranking that left hook and looking to do some damage. But again, TKV was wise to it and blocked the shot. Double jab there from TKV and a right hand to the body. That's nice. Nice jab to the body from TKV. Double jab to the head, then comes into clinch. Doing a good job outboxing Adeleye so far. He's won every round on my card. There's a right hand from TKV, which was partially blocked by Adeleye. Another one. A minute 49 left in the 5th. Adeleye looking visibly frustrated, trying to get big shots off. He's got TKV against the ropes, but swinging like Deontay Wilder there and not landing flush at all. So you can see the frustration in him. TKV gets him back on the jab. Little 1-2s going in, jab to the body. Adeleye trying to jab with him, but not having success. And he's taking a lot of jabs to the body, David Adeleye. At some point, they're going to start to wear him down. They may not seem like much at the moment, but trust me, when a 250-pound man is constantly jabbing you to the gut like that, it all adds up. Little warning there from the ref to TKV for, I think it was punching on the break. A minute left in the 5th. TKV soundly outboxing Adeleye through the first nearly 5 rounds. Back on the jab. Adeleye's activity is really dropping off. And it's only the 5th round. There's a decent jab there from Adeleye. He's trying to get physical, but he's just not throwing enough punches, Adeleye. TKV has managed to befuddle him and confuse him. Again, rough stuff on the inside from Adeleye with the forearm and the inside of the glove as TKV comes in to clinch. 20 seconds left in the 5th. More jabs from TKV, more clinching on the inside. Almost John Ruiz style at times here from TKV. The referee telling him to get hands free and punch on the inside rather than clinching. And that's another round for TKV in my book. And Adam Booth is going to need to earn his money here because his man is way behind on the cards. If he loses the next round, what's Adam Booth saying to the referee here? Okay, he's complaining to the referee about something, not sure what that was. So if Adeleye loses another round, as far as I'm concerned, the best he can get out of this fight is a draw unless he gets the knockout. Because he is 5-0 down. We're going into round 6 now. Here we go. Start of round 6. TKV has thoroughly outboxed David Adeleye up to this point. He's frustrated him. He's used his jab, primarily his jab. He hasn't really landed much else. Oh, big left hand from Adeleye. TKV goes down. Wow. TKV in all sorts of trouble. What a breakthrough from Adeleye. Huge left hook. It almost seemed as though it was on the break, but the referee says it was a legal shot. TKV complaining, but he looks in terrible trouble. Adeleye's coming in to try and finish the job. TKV up against the ropes. Big shots going in from Adeleye. Wild. Loading up. Down goes TKV again. Like a bolt from the blue. Totally against the run of play. TKV was in complete control. Outboxing Adeleye, but now he's down and badly hurt. The fight is waved off. Wow. David Adeleye needed that. He hadn't won a round. And all of a sudden, at the start of the 6th, he turned it on. He landed that big left hook that he'd been looking for the entire fight. And that was all he needed. It was almost like the Deontay Wilder thing where you need to be bang on right for 12 rounds. I only need to be right for 1 second. Shout out to D-Man for the super chat. He says, even if Adeleye wins, the game plan to beat him seems obvious now. Indeed, it does. But yeah, he did a Wilder. I'd like to see a replay of that knockdown because it almost seemed like it was on the break. And I think TKV's team are complaining about that. It seemed like it was on the break. Let's see. Okay, this is after the first knockdown has already happened. We need to see the first knockdown. I'm not sure why they're not showing us a replay of the first knockdown. Is Adeleye following up? And he scores the second knockdown. Okay, so it wasn't actually on the break, or the referee I don't think called break, but he touched TKV's glove as if to say, stop holding. And TKV maybe thought that the referee was calling break. I think that's what the confusion was. Yeah, because the referee touched his glove as if to say, get your hands free, because he was doing that in the previous round, telling them to get their hands free and punch. God, TKV's eyes look crazy after he gets hit with that shot. His eyes are like saucers. But yeah, I think that's what the confusion was. Referee touched TKV's glove while they were in a clinch, as if to say, break, let your hands go and punch. So he wasn't actually calling break, he was telling him to punch. But TKV thought that he was, yeah, that's what the confusion was. And that's why they're complaining. Protect yourself at all times, says Charles B. Indeed. Now, Fee Khabib says, that's a no contest immediate rematch. Is it? Because the referee didn't call break. Unless the referee calls break, then you protect yourself at all times. But as I say, because he touched the glove, that caused TKV to be confused and, thinking that the referee was about to call break. I don't know what the rules are with regards to touching fighters' gloves, if the referees are supposed to do that. Because a lot of the time, when referees call break, that's when they'll touch you. They'll usually slap you on the back or whatever the case may be, grab your shoulder, push you apart. But the ref didn't call break. Instead, he just touched the fighters as if to say, let your hands go. Stop holding. Kev from the gym says the ref did call break, did he? Because I've got my volume on very low here. So, for the sake of copyright and whatnot. So I'm going to rewind it and play it in real time and see if I can hear the referee calling break. Because maybe I missed it. It's possible I missed it. The Outlaw Pugilist says the ref called break loud and clear. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Let me rewind it and have a listen. And if that's the case, I stand corrected. Let's see what Adeleye says. All right, one sec. Let me rewind it. Yeah, just watched it again now, and somebody definitely shouts break. Somebody definitely shouts break. You can't see the ref on screen at the time, so I'm going to assume it was the ref that shouted break. If it was the ref that shouted break, then yeah, it's a no contest. It should be. Let's see what TKV says. Okay, yeah, they're confirming, indeed. Even Ade and everybody's confirming the referee said break. So it was a punch on the break then. So as Outlaw Pugilist said and Feed Khabib, it should be a no contest, indeed. Why would the referee allow that though? But then it's just bad refereeing, because when a referee calls break, both fighters are supposed to step back. And the referee didn't have both fighters step back after calling break. It's like he called break. The fighters didn't step back. He didn't tell them to step back. He let them keep on. He allowed them to keep on fighting. And it was just a heap of confusion. So, yeah, it was poor refereeing. So yeah, I stand corrected. As I say, I've got the sound on pretty low here, so as not to interfere with my commentary and not have any copyright issues. So I didn't actually hear the referee say break at the time. I had assumed that he hadn't told him to break, and he just pulled TKV's hand aside as if to say, keep on punching. But no, as you guys told me in the chat, he did indeed. It certainly appeared, and everybody is acknowledging that the referee did tell him to break, but then allowed a punch to be thrown afterwards without them breaking. So God only knows what that's all about. Yeah, really poor form from the ref there. Really poor form. TKV was in all sorts of trouble, and the fight was done there. Okay, AV London says, who won? Officially, at the moment, Adeleye won, but it was a punch that he landed on the break. For some bizarre reason, the referee administered a count. Punching on the break is not legal in boxing, but the referee was poor. When a referee calls break, you're supposed to get the fighters to step away from each other, and then you tell them to continue boxing, and you say box. But this referee called break, didn't get them to step away from each other, and didn't, go through the normal protocol of when you're having a break, and it caused confusion. Adeleye threw a shot when TKV thought they were breaking up, and that was pretty much the end of the fight. TKV went down. He was badly hurt. He did get up. He was dropped again. Got up a second time, but the referee waved it off. Darius says, Adeleye really becoming a top heel out here. He is. He's doing the heel thing. KS says it will be overturned, I think. Yeah. And shout out to Filip Hrgovic, because he said earlier on, he'd obviously heard that the referee had called break. It is a clear no contest. Filip Hrgovic was bang on. It's a clear no contest. Shout out to the place. Yes, if everyone can stick a like on this stream, it will really help. We've got 277 concurrent viewers. If you appreciate the commentary, then please stick a like on this stream. We've only got 38 so far. If we can get at least 140, we much appreciate it. It only takes a split second of your time. Help a YouTuber out with a quick like. Stockholm says, TKV was winning the fight. Big up, Hatman. Yeah, I had TKV winning every single round. Every single round. I didn't give Adeleye one round in the fight. Every round to TKV. Shout out to B-Tech Grime. He says, why they rolling Parsons out, man? Parsons did some work on one of Eddie Hearn's shows, I think it was. Was it the Australia show? Right, so here we see Hrgovic and Joyce warming up backstage. Yeah, so I said in my pre-fight stream and video regarding the Adeleye TKV fight that I thought Adeleye was going to win, probably by stoppage. But I said if he doesn't get the fight over with in, let's say, the first half of the fight, he might find himself in difficulty in the second half. Well, he got it over with in the first half. He was already in difficulty in the first half, but the fight didn't play out the way I expected. I thought that TKV would be the aggressor and Adeleye would be on the back foot. It was the other way round. So although the result, at least for now, was in line with what I predicted, the way it played out wasn't. And that result, as many others have said in the live chat, could well get overturned. It should get overturned. And that referee should be demoted. Because, in British boxing, the referees have various levels of seniority. And depending on the level that a referee is at, you'll get assigned to fights accordingly. So the 5-star referees get the world title bouts and whatnot. So that referee needs to be demoted for that. That was a horrible, horrible bit of referee in there. Omo Jr. says, Hatman, this referee was a busybody doing way too much throughout the fight. Yep, as B-Tech said there, that referee needs demoting. Danny says, Hrgovic, UD incoming. I'm going for Hrgovic split decision or majority decision. Remember, this is a 10-rounder, which probably suits Hrgovic, to be fair. He doesn't have the gas tank that Joyce has. Few fighters do. Yeah, Stone Gorgon says that needs to be overturned. I agree. Big up TKV. He was doing his thing. Yup. TKV was totally outboxing Adeleye in there. Totally outboxing him. Basically just using his jab. He barely threw his right hand. I mean, there was a handful of times he let it go. But for the most part, he was just giving Adeleye a boxing lesson with the left hand alone. Paulie Malignaggi style. Just jabbing upstairs and downstairs, strategic clinching, going to the body occasionally, feinting, just totally befuddling David Adeleye. He couldn't get into the fight. Kev from the gym says, Hrgovic 4-6 on points. He loses interest late in fights, but Joyce's team should have made it 12 rounds. Perhaps they did want to make it 12 rounds, but at the end of the day, Hrgovic has taken it on relatively short notice, so he would have had a bit of leverage in negotiations. Fighters who take things on short notice normally do have some type of leverage because they're doing you a favor, they're saving your show. So perhaps that was a condition of Hrgovic's to say, it needs to be over 10 rounds rather than 12. Yeah, TKV did show a very good jab, very educated jab. He was very clever with it. And it was like that from the opening seconds of the bout. He came right out in the first round and he started landing the jab immediately. Head and body. All right, so we got Thomas Triber in his fancy tux. About to call the fighters out to the ring. Okay, they're announcing. All right, I thought they were calling out Hrgovic and Joyce. No, they're announcing the Fabio Wardley Jarrell Miller fight. I saw an interview with Fabio Wardley after this announcement was made, and as I suspected, he said that Kubrat Pulev priced himself out. And some people might think, well, why would he price himself out? That seems like a bizarre move. Well, Kubrat Pulev is still very popular in his homeland of Bulgaria. He sold out an arena against Manuel Char of all people in his last fight in Sofia, Bulgaria. So if you can sell out arenas against the likes of Manuel Char, then you're going to want a king's ransom to fight a Fabio Wardley. So we got Jarrell Miller and Wardley facing off. It's an interesting fight. And there's also this apparent WBA tournament, which this will be part of. So Wardley versus Miller, and also Michael Hunter versus Kubrat Pulev. I also saw an interview with Jarrell Miller where he was questioning Fabio Wardley's height. Wardley is listed, I think, at 6'5" or 6'6". Well, Jarrell Miller's 6'4", and they look about the same in height. So unless there's a big disparity in terms of the thickness of the soles of their boots or shoes, then Miller might be onto something. Yeah, nobody's going to break this stare. Dylan White there, still part of Fabio Wardley's team. I guess he still manages him or advises him in some type of capacity. He's looking on from just outside the ropes. I'm not sure why the camera's cut away here to Ade and Carl Frampton. They're not letting us see the conclusion of the stare down. Ayad says, I had no issue with that TKV stoppage. Okay, expand on that. Why have you got no issue with it? Because the punch was on the break and the referee allowed it for some bizarre reason. It was unclear instructions from the ref, which caused confusion. I say unclear instructions because he called break, and then he might have mumbled something afterwards as if to say keep boxing. But when a referee calls break, he's supposed to separate the fighters. That's the standard procedure. You call break and then you separate the fighters. But he didn't do that. A shout out to D-Man for the super chat. He says, do you think there is a correlation between head size and durability? If there is, I think it's a relatively weak correlation. Because I've seen some guys with huge craniums that can't take a shot at all. Perhaps generally, head size in relation to the rest of the body does equate to better punch resistance, but I definitely wouldn't say it's a hard and fast rule. KS says, what about a big neck hat, man? Again, I've seen plenty of fighters with big necks that can't take a shot. And I've seen some fighters that don't have a big neck that can take a great shot. One example of a fighter with, a relatively thin neck, I guess, or a normal size neck at least, a skinny guy, Gerald McClellan. He had an iron jaw, McClellan. And he was a slender guy. Kieran says TKV looks like an overweight David Hay. All right, the main event coming up. Joyce versus Filip Hrgovic. I think the key for Joyce in this fight will be his jab, because his power shots are very ponderous and slow, as we all know. Hrgovic isn't the fastest heavyweight in the world, but compared to Joyce, he's quick. And he should be able to get his right hand off a lot more frequently than Joyce and land his right hand more frequently than Joyce. He's very educated with that punch, as we saw in the early rounds against Dubois. So this may be a battle between Joyce's jab and pressure and physical strength and Filip Hrgovic's right hand. Let's see who prevails in that battle. You've also got the fact that Filip Hrgovic has been badly cut in at least one fight against Daniel Dubois, obviously. I'm not sure if he's been cut in other fights. Was he cut against Zheli Zhang? I can't remember. But scar tissue is something that could potentially be an issue for him as well. We'll see. But I'm expecting a tough, close fight. I'm expecting rock'em sock'em robots, to be honest. I think this is going to be a bit of a slugfest. Shout out to D-Man for the super chat. He says, like with Polynesians, they have thick necks and head. They are notorious for taking a punch well in New Zealand gyms. But again, I've seen Polynesians that don't take a particularly great shot, that have real solid builds, but they don't hold a shot well. One of them would be Alex Leapai. You know, Alex Leapai didn't have anything like a David Tua chin. Another one would be Jimmy Thunder, who was a Polynesian fringe contender from back in the days. He never could hold a shot either. There was also an enormous Tongan, I think he was Tongan, who Vladimir Klitschko fought in the amateurs, and I think he fought him in the pros and knocked him out in one round in the pros, called Wolfgram. I think his first name was Paya or something like that, beginning with a P, and his surname was Wolfgram. And he couldn't take much of a shot as a pro either. I swear, yeah, Vladimir got him out of there in one round. There was also another Polynesian, I think a Samoan, called Samson Puha, who was a very good puncher, strong, but he didn't have the greatest chin. But people remember the likes of Tua, because Tua did have a good chin. But there were plenty of Polynesians that didn't take a great shot. Joseph Parker's got a pretty good chin. Not an iron jaw by any means, but he's got a pretty good chin, yeah. D-Man says, yeah, there will be outliers, but I don't think they're outliers. Personally, I don't think they're outliers. I've reeled off how many Polynesians, 4 or 5 of them, that can't take a shot. The Polynesians fighters that I've seen that can take a shot are Tua, who had a really good chin, and Parker's got a pretty good chin. But other than those two, I'm struggling to think of Polynesian heavyweights that really took a great shot. Unless you can tell me about somebody that I've not thought of. Yeah, this, it's going to sound weird saying this word, this helmet that Joe Joyce is wearing this time, the Juggernaut helmet, is much better than the one he wore several fights ago. Remember when he came in with that enormous Juggernaut thing that just looked ridiculous? Big Juggernaut, big Juggernaut. Adam says, were you impressed with Adeleye tonight? No. No, he wasn't impressive at all. I think even he admitted after the fight that he weren't impressive. So, not impressive at all. All right, this fight is about to get underway. We got the two fighters in the ring. We're going through the pre-fight introductions. 3 UK judges. Oh, that's ominous for Hrgovic. All 3 judges from the UK and a ref from the UK. And for those who are not aware, this is actually a rematch. The first fight between these two was in the WSB, the World Series of Boxing, and it was a very good fight. It was a slugfest, which is why I think this fight's going to be a slugfest. Because you got 2 guys who are not shy about letting their hands go. Both have got good chins. And neither man has got really massive KO power. I mean, they both got power, but they're not among the elite punchers in the division, in my view. So I just think it all points to a slugfest here. Neither guy is going to be shy to get stuck in. I think Joyce is the physically stronger man. I think he's going to be looking to get that big jab off. And Hrgovic will be looking to land that right hand. He's got very good variation on his right hand. Be interested to see if in the time that he's spent with Abel Sanchez and Big Bear, whether he's been able to improve in any discernible way, either technically or as far as fitness, because for those of you who don't know, the Big Bear gym is at altitude. And many trainers and fighters are convinced that altitude training really helps your stamina. I'm sure there's some science behind it or something somewhere, right? But it's more difficult to breathe at altitude than it is closer to sea level. And so when you return to sea level, it's supposed to be like much easier and yeah, you feel the benefits of it, is what they say. Ayed says, I forgot Abel apparently trained Joyce too. Yeah, he did for the Joe Hanks fight. Richard says it increases red blood cell count. There you go. Yeah, Joe does look in good shape. He does look in good shape. All right, here we go. Both guys gearing up for the first round. There's the opening bell, round 1. Joyce Hrgovic. They come out to center ring. Both guys probing. Hrgovic probing with a jab. Joyce with a jab to the body. Okay. Joyce catches a right hand there from Hrgovic. Joyce not pressing the action yet. Just having a look. Nice jab there from Joyce. Surely it's just a matter of time before Joyce starts to apply the pressure, but he's just been a bit circumspect here in the early going. Looking to find his timing. Jab into Hrgovic's body. Hrgovic nearly let... Oh, nice right hand there from Hrgovic. Joyce was moving away, though, so kind of took the sting off it. Oh, big right hand over the top from Hrgovic, misses by a mile. Joyce did well to move his feet and get out of the way of that shot. Right hand there from Hrgovic again. Loading up on the second right hand. Nice jab from Joyce. Joyce using his legs a bit more here than I expected in the early going. Trying to find some angles on Filip Hrgovic. Nice jab to the body from Hrgovic. Hrgovic loading up with a right hand, and this is typically what he does, is he likes to try and make a fast start. But his right hand is being blocked. That's a nice jab there from Joyce. Right hand to the body from Hrgovic. Joyce coming back with a couple of straight shots to the body. Again, Hrgovic right hand happy as usual. And he only got big right hand from Hrgovic. That shot landed solid. But big left hook from Hrgovic. Right hand from Hrgovic. Okay, Joyce can't be eating shots like that too much. But, oh, okay, back of the head shot from Hrgovic there. Joyce, as usual, very easy to hit here. I guess that's why he's trying to use his legs to get out of the way of some of them, but shipping some punishment there. That's a nice jab from Joyce, though. Big right hand again from Hrgovic, but Joyce turns away from it, takes a little bit of the sting off. Hrgovic's face is marked up already, I think from Joyce's jab. Looks to have some bruising above his left eye. Joyce backpedaling here. Really. Oh, big right hand from Hrgovic. Big shot. Joyce tries to come back, but nothing lands. Another big right hand from Hrgovic. Yeah, it's a lively one, folks. I expected it to be. But so far, Hrgovic is very much getting the better of it. I don't really like these tactics from Joyce, you know. The back foot stuff. He's giving Hrgovic too much space to get his shots off. He needs to press the action like he did when they fought in the WSB. Really weird defensive movement here from Joyce. Getting his jab off. He needs to press the action. Oh, big right hand again from Hrgovic. Chasing Joyce around the ring. Big right hand. Now, what is Joyce doing here? He needs to press it. Not sure what Joyce is doing here, but yeah, that was a big Hrgovic round. So round one, very much the Hrgovic. He was lighting Joyce up like a Christmas tree. Yeah, that was very firmly a Filip Hrgovic round. Very firmly. I was a little surprised by Joyce's tactics there. Trying to be circumspect and box on a back foot a little bit. Yeah, I question the wisdom of that. Shout out to D-Man for the super chat. He says, you saw Joyce do a Floyd Mayweather there. All right, here we go, round two. Let's see if Joyce switches it up and applies some pressure here. I think he really needs to. Giving Hrgovic all that space, it seems unwise to me. And it certainly didn't pay off in the first round. So Joyce looking like he's trying to hold his ground a little bit more here. Turning away from Hrgovic's right hand. That's a good body shot from Joyce. Hrgovic cracks him on the back of the head. Left hook there from Joyce was a decent shot. Jab to the body from Joyce was decent. Big jab from Hrgovic though. Hrgovic really loading up on that right hand. Big jab there from Joyce. That was a good shot. Hrgovic trying to get his jab off. The reach apparently is in favor of Hrgovic by 2 inches, according to the stats that they gave on DAZN. But to me, Joyce's arms look longer. And of course, oh, big right hand there from Hrgovic. He has Joyce up against the ropes. Of course, reach and arm length are 2 different measurements. I think arm length is a far more relevant and useful measurement. Because in terms of arm length, to me anyway, to my eyes, it appears that Joyce has got the longer arms. I think Hrgovic is cut there. So there was some damage to the left side of Hrgovic's face in the first round, which looked like bruising. Now it looks like a cut. I did speak about the scar tissue. That's a nice jab there from Joyce. He's targeting the damage. Again, turning away really awkwardly from Filip Hrgovic's right hands. Now Joyce starts to come forward. He's got Hrgovic in the corner. That's a nice jab from Hrgovic. And yeah, you can see the blood coming out of that cut. It may be one of those cuts that he suffered in the Daniel Dubois fight reopened. Nice body shots there from Joe Joyce. Hrgovic really loading up with the right hand there. Missing. Incredibly, right? Joyce comes back with a right hand. Yup. Folks, we've got a slugfest developing here quite quickly. Big right hand from Hrgovic. Joyce shakes his head, says it didn't hurt him. This is a better round here for Joe Joyce. I'm not sure if he's winning it, but he's definitely doing better. Big jab there from Joe Joyce. Nice shot. Wild swings from both. It's Rock'em Sock'em Robots. And I think the cut is bothering Hrgovic already. Again, tries the right hand. Joe Joyce with weird head movement, but somewhat effective. Let's be real. It looks awkward, but it is actually working to some extent. Big right hand and left hand there from Hrgovic. Joyce tries to come slugging back, but his shots are blocked. Ooh, Hrgovic really trying to load up on the right hand and punish Joe Joyce there. But he knows, there's the end of the round. I told you guys, well, not that you guys didn't know anyway, but as I said before the opening bell, I was expecting a slugfest. Their fight in the WSB was a slugfest. I always thought this one would be a slugfest too. You got two guys with great chins who don't have massive one-punch power. So that's a recipe for a slugfest. And one guy in particular in Joyce who's got a terrible defense. Hrgovic ain't exactly Floyd Mayweather himself. So yeah, he always had the ingredients of a slugfest, this fight. The cut to Hrgovic's right eye doesn't look too bad at the moment. And I think it was opened there by a Joyce right hand. They're showing a slow-mo replay. So yeah, the scar tissue from the Dubois fight has reopened. Here we go, round 3. Hrgovic comes immediately out and lands the right hand on poor Joyce. Joyce trying to get that big jab off. Ooh, Hrgovic. I've never seen Hrgovic load up, like launch his body into the right hand as much as he's doing here. Maybe because Joyce is so slow, he feels like he can get away with it. Because normally he doesn't really launch himself into the right hand to that extent. Some body shots there from Hrgovic. Good jab from Hrgovic. Joyce looking to get his own jab off. Joyce coming forward a bit here. Little speculative left hook. Pulling with his own jab. Does get a decent one off there. Jab into Hrgovic's body. This is what Joyce needs to do. Come forward. Joyce very cumbersome on his feet, but he is doing a fairly good job at blocking some of them right hands. Goes to Hrgovic's body. Manhandles Hrgovic there up close. Big shots there from Joyce. Hooking with the right hand. Partially blocked by Hrgovic. This is better from Joyce. This is what he needs to do. Blood now from Hrgovic's cut again. Big right hand there from Hrgovic. Joyce doing this weird lean back, which, as I say, looks ugly, but it has been somewhat effective. He was using the lean back in the Dubois fight quite effectively, but it didn't look quite as awkward as it does here. Big right hand from Hrgovic. Joyce takes it, but was he wobbled there slightly? Nice jab from Joyce on Hrgovic's damaged eye. Joyce moving away, having Hrgovic's right hand fall short. Joyce really targeting the damaged eye of Hrgovic with the jab and the right hand. Nice jab there from Hrgovic. Right hand left hook from Hrgovic. Wipes away the blood from his eye. It's obviously bothering his vision. Right hand there from Hrgovic on the inside. Wasn't a massive shot, but it did connect. Big right hand again from Hrgovic. Body shot from Hrgovic. 2 right hands over the top. Joyce leans away, but the shots did land. It's all action, folks. But jab to the body from Joyce there. I forgot to say how I scored the second round. Big right hand there from Joyce. That was one of the best right hands he's landed so far. Straight right hand on Hrgovic's chin. Hrgovic looking to pick his shots here. Joyce coming forward. The second round was a lot closer. Oh, big right hand from Hrgovic. What a shot. Joyce takes it. Another right hand from Hrgovic. I got Hrgovic winning this round. Even though Joyce is coming forward, Hrgovic landing the better shots for me. Big left hook from Hrgovic there. Was Joyce a little wobbled? First round to Hrgovic, third round to Hrgovic. I'm not sure how I'd score the second round. How did you guys score the second round? I thought the second round was pretty close. But first and third, definitely Hrgovic rounds for me. So I got Hrgovic up 2-1 at least. Yeah, Carlton Palmer says this is entertainment. It is too. D-Man says Joyce late KO. Okay. My prediction is Hrgovic on points. Big right hand from Hrgovic there. We've seen the slow-mo. Joyce landed a nice right hand himself on Hrgovic's chin. Here we go. Round 4. This is a 10-rounder. Just to remind anybody who might have thought it was a 12-rounder, it's only 10, so it's a relatively short fight. Joyce comes out in the front foot looking to get the jab off. Hrgovic again looking to get the right hand home. Really loading up with it. Is that something he's been working on with Abel Sanchez, or, as I said earlier on, is it the fact that Joyce is so slow that Hrgovic feels like he can load up on the shot more than he would against other fighters? Hrgovic in the corner now. Joyce coming at him speculatively. Joyce moving his head there, making Hrgovic miss with the right hand, as he has done multiple times during this fight. It's a nice left hook there from Hrgovic, was partially blocked by Joyce. Joyce got Hrgovic on the ropes. Hrgovic now leans back. Joyce trying to get his jab off. We know about Joyce's work rate. He needs to make that work rate count, though. You know, you can't allow Hrgovic to have these little breaks in rounds and pace himself through the fight. Needs to stay on him. That, of course, is one of Joyce's big strengths, is his work rate and stamina. Needs to make it count here. Hrgovic already, you can see, taking breaks in these rounds. Joyce needs to press him when he's taking these breaks. You can't let him do this. But again, Joyce with the awkward head movement that's somewhat effective. Hrgovic guilty of telegraphing the right hand a little bit here, but that one did land there. That was a nice right hand from Hrgovic there. Another right hand lands from Hrgovic as Joyce comes in. Joyce invest into the body a little bit here. Trying to tire Hrgovic out. Even the playing field as far as speed. That's a nice counter right hand from Hrgovic off the ropes. Again, Joyce pressing the action, but not as active as we're used to seeing him. Big right hand from Hrgovic. Another left hook from Hrgovic. Another right hand. Big left hook from Hrgovic. Big shots going in. Oh, big right hand from Hrgovic. Is Joyce maybe not as confident in his chin as he used to be? Is that why he's not throwing as many as we're used to seeing him throw? Or is it just the age? His work rate is not going to be as good at 39, nearly 40? Because very, very nice shots there from Filip Hrgovic. And Joyce waiting too much for me. Needs to stay on his man. Hrgovic can't stay with him in terms of work rate. So Joyce needs to jump on him when he's trying to take these breaks here. And he's not doing it. Need to stay on Hrgovic, man. You're letting him take breaks. It's another Hrgovic round for me. Landed big shots. Big right hand from Hrgovic there on the back of Joyce's ear. Another big right hand from Hrgovic. You can barely miss. Joyce trying to come back with some body shots. There's a right hand from Joyce that did get through. Okay, they're slugging away in the corner here. Big left hook there from Hrgovic. That's another Hrgovic round. Mr. Luca's got it 4-0 for Hrgovic. I've got it at least 3-1, if not 4-0. Because the second round was a little close, but... Hrgovic definitely winning so far. Danny's got it 4-0. If the judges see it the same way, then we're on course for my prediction to come true. Let's hope it does. Isaac says 3-1 Hrgovic. Andrew says, I'm getting CTE watching this. Celtic Magician says, Joyce is hilarious. Oh dear, here we go. Coming up to round 5. Nearly at the halfway stage of this 10-rounder. Here we go. Both guys out to center ring. Hrgovic's cut has held up fairly well, so his cutsman has done a decent job in the corner thus far. But Joyce really needs to keep targeting that. Try and get something out of it. Big right hand again from Hrgovic. Another big right hand from Hrgovic. I mean, some of these shots are partially blocked. Big left hook from Hrgovic. Right hand from Hrgovic. He's really slotting that shot through the center of Joyce's guard now. Joyce is dispensed with the weird lean back momentarily. And that's allowing Hrgovic to get some shots off. Hrgovic on the ropes, trying to rope-a-dope Joyce a little bit here. That was partially blocked there. Right hand from Hrgovic. Big left hook again from Hrgovic. Joyce swinging away as Hrgovic is in the corner. But nothing much landing. So Hrgovic still the more accurate fighter here. Joyce jabbing to the body. That's sensible. Right hand misses, left hook is blocked. Hrgovic just seems happy to stay in the corner and catch a little rest and counterpunch. Both guys exchanging jabs. Carl Frampton's got this fight even after 4. Is that generous to Joyce? I think it is. He gave round 3 to Joyce? Dear, oh dear, oh dear. That was clearly a Hrgovic round. God only knows how he had that to Joyce. What on earth is Carl Frampton smoking? Yeah, Hrgovic looking like he's taking a break here, though. Just trying to fight off the ropes and look for counters. Went with a right hand there. I'm not sure if that landed from this angle. Couldn't see. But it's here where Joyce really needs to press the action when Hrgovic is trying to take these breaks. Joyce doing a good job at making Hrgovic miss with a right hand there. Although that one does land from Hrgovic. Joyce jabbing to the body. This is a much slower round. Left hook there from Hrgovic. Is he starting to feel the pace? He's certainly taking a break. He hasn't come out of that corner for the whole round. More or less. There's a nice left hook there from Hrgovic off the ropes. Right hand from Hrgovic. Another right hand from Hrgovic. Slick little counters here from Hrgovic off the ropes. A right hand from Hrgovic. I think he's trying to steal the round at the end here in the final 30 seconds. Right hand there. Now Hrgovic comes out of the corner. Looking to finish the round with a flourish. Will he, though? Big left hook there from Hrgovic was a nice shot. Jab from Hrgovic. Joyce pins him on the ropes, but doesn't land anything clean. Going to Hrgovic's body, then upstairs with a jab. That was a weird round. Personally, I'd still give it to Hrgovic because he landed the cleaner shots. There's at least one person giving it to Joyce there. I'd personally give it to Hrgovic. Even though the visual was Joyce pinning Hrgovic in the corner, his punches were not effective. Whereas Hrgovic did land quite a few clean headshots there. So personally, I'd give that one to Hrgovic as well. I got it 4-1 to Hrgovic. A B-Tech Graham says, hope we don't get anything stupid with the judges. Me too. Hopefully we don't get anything stupid. Because I got Hrgovic well up here. Here we go, round 6. We're in the second half of the fight. 5 rounds to go. Joyce comes out with a right hand, which is partially blocked. They tie up in the middle. There's been very little clinching in this fight so far. It's been a good action fight up to this point. But Hrgovic is maybe feeling the pace here because he spent the entire previous round in the corner countering off the ropes. So could it be that stamina of his? I mean, he has thrown a lot of shots in the first half of the fight. As Hrgovic tends to do, he tends to start fast and then fade. Joyce with the weird lean back making Hrgovic miss again, but Hrgovic catches him with a left as he leans forward again. Again, Hrgovic in the corner looking to counter. Joyce gets a jab off. Joyce doing a pretty good job. I mean, he's not consistent with that lean back, and it's ugly as hell. But it often is, but when he does use it, it is quite effective. But he does catch a right hand there, though. Hrgovic timed it, and he landed another right hand there, Hrgovic. So he's just trying to time Joyce's lean back to catch him at the right moment. Joyce coming in with shots. Big right hand there from Hrgovic. Walk Joyce onto it. But Joyce, again, takes the shot fine. Joyce punch into the body. Hrgovic catches him with a left hand on the way in. This, a much closer round. Hrgovic still landing the better shots to the head, but Joyce definitely doing his fair share of body work here. More than fair share of body work. He's surely landing far more body shots than Hrgovic is, but Hrgovic is landing more head shots. Certainly power shots. There's a right hand from Hrgovic. Joyce tries to come back with his own right hand, but wasn't very accurate. Again, Hrgovic on the ropes, looking to counter. Nice right hand there from Hrgovic, but I think Joyce took the sting off it by leaning away. Jab there from Hrgovic. Joyce with a jab. Body shots from Hrgovic. Rare. Nice right hand from Joyce. Big right hand from Hrgovic to the head. Big right hand to the body from Joyce there. Nice shot. Hrgovic's left hook has been a better weapon for him in this fight than it has been in previous fights. He's landed quite a lot of them. Oh, nice jabs there from Joyce. 2 heavy jabs in the right hand as he pushes Hrgovic back into the ropes. This is a better round from Joyce here, but still catches a right hand to the head. Close round. I might give that one to Joyce. I mean, he landed a lot of body shots. Not too many clean headshots. Hrgovic landed more headshots, but they weren't as clean as they were in previous rounds. Am I being generous giving it to Joyce? I'm going to give it to Joyce. I'm going to give it to Joyce. So I got it 4-2 in favor of Hrgovic. I predicted it would be a split decision win for Hrgovic. That was my pick, my prediction. Yeah, my pick. I said a split for Hrgovic. Of course, Joyce is the British fighter. But as I understand it, in order to secure this opportunity, Hrgovic had to sign with Frank Warren. So you never know. Maybe Hrgovic gets the decision and they run it back. Warren will be perfectly happy with that, I would have thought. So Joyce firmly on the front foot now. Invest into the body with Hrgovic countering off the ropes. This is going to be a close one on the cards, folks, if it continues in this vein. With Hrgovic giving up so much real estate and being willing to just fight off the ropes like this. That was a nice right hand from Hrgovic there. Because it's not a good visual by way of the judges when you're just languishing on the ropes for entire rounds. You know, looking to counter here and there and old man your way through the fight. When obviously it's Joyce that's actually the old man, but Hrgovic is fighting more like the old man, you know? Trying to pull his little cute moves off the ropes and the counters and whatnot. That's a nice left hook there from Filip Hrgovic. And that's been a shot, as I said earlier on, that he's been landing more consistently in this fight than I've seen him land it in previous fights. Maybe it's just more available against Joyce than it is against... A big right hand from Hrgovic. Joyce takes it fine. Big left hook there from Joyce. That was a nice shot. Best headshot he's landed in a while. I think Joyce thinks he's stunned Hrgovic there, but catches a left hook himself. Left hook from Hrgovic again. And this, you know, nice right hand from Hrgovic. This fight looks very much like their WSB fight. Because this is how it ended, with Joyce on the front foot and Hrgovic fighting off the ropes. Hrgovic coming forward now. Joyce giving him a little bit of space. Left hook to the body from Hrgovic. Right hand over the top from Hrgovic. Joyce comes back with a couple shots. Now Hrgovic is on the ropes. Hrgovic trying to push Joyce off to get space for his own shots. Left hook from Hrgovic. Right hand. Left hook from Hrgovic. Joyce taking the shots fine. Another left hook from Hrgovic. Hrgovic round for me so far. He's landing more shots to the head. And Joyce not as many to the body. Not for me anyway. Another nice right hand there from Hrgovic. Yeah, he's come back well in this round. Because I gave the previous one to Joyce. I had it 4-2 to Hrgovic after the last one. But this is a Hrgovic round unless Joyce can produce something in the final 30 seconds here. And I got Hrgovic. Hrgovic really looking to load up with a right hand. Big right hand there from Hrgovic. Does get round Joyce's guard. Another big right hand from Hrgovic. Another big right hand from Hrgovic. Joyce eating them right hands like Jarrell Miller eats Big Macs. Joyce trying to come back right at the final few seconds of the round. But no, that's a Hrgovic round for me. There we go. So I got it 5-2 for Filip Hrgovic after 7. Mr. Lucas says 5-2 or 6-1. Yep. I got it 5-2 Hrgovic, personally. Chris says, Joe eating his vitamins. Let's see how these final 3 rounds go. That was a nice left hook there in the slow-mo from Joyce. Again, didn't bother Hrgovic at all. Both of these guys with good chins. Here we go, round 8. An entertaining scrap. Let's see who can close out the fight better. I gave Hrgovic the last round. I thought Joyce won the previous. Hrgovic again on the back foot. Hrgovic may not have the ability to fight 2 hard rounds consecutively. We'll see. Will he take this one off? Because he exerted himself in the previous round quite a lot. Will that allow Joyce back into it? Going for the right hand again, and the left hook scores for Hrgovic once more. Incredibly, Carl Frampton has got Joe Joyce ahead. Unbelievable. 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 How on earth has he got Joe Joyce ahead? Bizarre. Now, Joyce might be on course to win this round because Hrgovic is really doing nothing here. Through the first minute, he's just been moving around on the ropes and not throwing much. And Joyce is getting his jab off, getting his hands moving. There's a left hook again from Hrgovic. I think that one was partially blocked, though. Yeah, Frampton's scorecard really shocking there. Big right hand from Hrgovic there. I say big. It was a clean right hand. Wasn't that much power on it. Halfway through round 8. Joyce turns southpaw briefly there. Hrgovic's cut has held up well. He's really taken a break in this round, and that's allowing Joyce to maybe steal it so far. Just with activity. Oh, nice right hand there from Joyce. Protect yourself at all times. Hrgovic didn't. Yeah, this is a Joyce round, I think. Hrgovic really taking his foot off the gas. Nice jab there from Joyce. Right hand misses from Joyce. Hrgovic ties him up on the inside. He's definitely feeling the pace. He's taking this round off completely. Giving this round to Joe Joyce. Giving him a lifeline, at least on my card. Hrgovic in the corner, not throwing anything, just content to make Joyce miss a few shots. Then he comes back with a couple. The exchange shots there. Joyce still got some bounce in his legs. Hrgovic looking for that counter left hook off the ropes, but not doing enough in this round for me. Big left hook there from Hrgovic. Joyce taking the shots, swarming all over Hrgovic. Hrgovic getting some right hands off on the inside, trying to finish the round with a flurry. Big right hand there from Hrgovic. But that's not enough to steal in the round for me. That's a Joe Joyce round. Nice big shots at the end, but too little too late. I got it 5-3 for Filip Hrgovic. So this is getting close. 2 rounds to go. On my card, mathematically, it could still be a draw. Alan has it 8-0 for Hrgovic. I don't know about that. I got Hrgovic winning for sure, but I wouldn't say 8-0. Striker says, I see a draw incoming. Big right hand to the forehead of Joyce and then a left hook on the ear. At the end of the round. Here we go, round 9. 2 rounds to go. In an entertaining heavyweight fight, Left hook from Hrgovic early doors. Right hand from Hrgovic there. He really needs to win a round here. Not allow Joyce to regain or gain some momentum off the back of the last round. Hrgovic seems to have a good round and take the next round off. Hrgovic really jumping off the canvas there as he throws a right hand. Deontay Wilder style. Yeah, Hrgovic massively outlanding Joyce to the head in round 8. As he has been in most of the rounds. Hrgovic being more aggressive in this round. Looking to take it to Joyce. Landed a nice right hand there. But exerting energy every time he loads up on shots like that. Big shots there from Hrgovic. Joyce takes them. Hrgovic goes to the body. Loads up on a right hand to the head. Another right hand from Hrgovic to the head. Joyce comes back with a big right hook to Hrgovic's body. They're slugging away. The two big heavyweights. Big bruisers. Hrgovic looking to just set up that right hand. There it is again. Another right hand nice from Hrgovic. Joyce just stumbled slightly as it landed. I don't think he was hurt. Just a balance issue momentarily. Left hook from Hrgovic. Right hand is blocked by Joyce's gloves. Nice right hand again from Hrgovic. Body shots. Right hand from Hrgovic. Left hook to the body. They're both slugging away. Hrgovic is landing more headshots, but Joyce is landing more body shots. A minute to go in round 9. So far, for me, this is a Hrgovic round, but if Joyce can do enough work in the final minute, it's possible he could steal it if it's impactful enough. Right hand misses there from Hrgovic. Again, Joyce leans away, takes the sting off those shots. But that one does land there from Hrgovic. Another one lands from Hrgovic. This is Rock'em Sock'em Robots. What can you do but laugh? Big right hand there. Oh, Joyce stumbled back after Hrgovic landed that right hand. They're just all out slugging here. All out slugging. I think Joyce was a bit stunned from the last right hand that Hrgovic landed. Definitely a Hrgovic round here. Definitely a Hrgovic round. His right hand must be hurting from hitting Joyce's head. His right hand must be smarting him. Another right hand. Yeah, that's firmly a Hrgovic round. So he came back well there. I've given Joyce 3 rounds in the fight. And the rest to Hrgovic. Nice. That's a beautiful right hand from Hrgovic. I bet Carl Frampton's got Joyce up by about 3 or 4 rounds at this point. Frampton's scorecard is absolutely shocking. Anglo has got it 7-2 to Joyce. What on earth are you watching? 7-2 to Joyce? Good God, man. I got it 9-6 to Hrgovic going into the final round. Round 10 here. Frampton's only got Hrgovic up by a point. That's crazy. Man needs Specsavers. Anyway, here we go. 15 seconds into the final round. Hrgovic needs a big round here because if Frampton's scorecard is anything to go by, they may well try job him. So he needs to finish strong. Every last ounce of energy needs to be expended here, throwing punches at Joe Joyce's big head. Joyce needs to press the action, obviously, and hope that the judges are in Frank Warren's pocket. Although Hrgovic, as far as I'm aware, is a Frank Warren fighter right now as well. But Joyce, of course, is the hometown favorite. If there was a Joyce win, would he be lined up for a Dubois rematch at some point? Uneventful first minute of this final round. Hrgovic tries the big right hand. Joyce being more positive on the front foot. Not really getting anything done by way of clean shots. There's a nice left hook there from Hrgovic. Joyce comes back with a couple body shots. Again, Hrgovic can't be taking this round off like this away from home. Shout out to Hrgovic's cutsman because he's done a good job stemming the flow of blood out of his damaged eye. Or from his damaged eye, should I say. Nice jab there from Joe. Joyce sent the spray flying. And Filip, Joyce tripping over his own feet there. Hrgovic, ooh, good shot there from Joyce. Nice right hand from Hrgovic back. A minute left in the final round. Big right hand from Hrgovic. Big left hook from Hrgovic. Hrgovic again, willing to give up ground. Big right hand again from Hrgovic. Joyce taking the shots, but they're landing, and they're landing clean. Hrgovic with his left hand dangling. He's tired. He's trying to walk Joe Joyce onto something big. In the final 30 seconds or so of this 10th round, Hrgovic comes back with a big one too. Drives Joyce back momentarily. Another big shot from Filip Hrgovic. And then they tangle up on the inside. It's been a relatively clean fight. Not much clinching. You had more clinching in the first, whatever it was, 6 rounds of the TKV Adeleye fight than you've had in the entire 10 rounds of this Joyce Hrgovic bout. Been a good slugfest between these two giant heavyweights. The final few seconds of the 10th, and then they go to the scorecards. Entertaining fight. I've got Filip Hrgovic winning that fight at least 6 rounds to 4. I got it 6-4, 7-3 Hrgovic. That's the way I see it. If they give it to Joyce, personally, I think that's a really bad decision. I think it's a really bad decision if they give it to Joyce. I had it 6-3 or 7-4. Excuse me. 6-4 or 7-3 Hrgovic. Shout out to GMS Nightmare. He says, think they'll give it as a draw. I hope not. I think that will be unfair to Hrgovic if they give it a draw. Again, I predicted a split for Hrgovic, but the way my scorecard has it, it shouldn't be a split. It should be a UD. He landed far more clean shots, certainly headshots throughout the fight. Far more. I don't think it's even close, actually, in terms of power shots to the head. I mean, maybe Joyce landed more jabs, possibly, but in terms of power shots to the head, it's been overwhelming in favor of Hrgovic. He's landed the vast majority of big power shots to the head, the eye-catching punches. Anglo says, do you think this version of Joyce would have beaten White? Yes. As diminished as Joyce might be, I think White is worse. Did you see White against Ebenezer Tete? He looked absolutely terrible. So yeah, I think that version of Joyce would have beaten White, the current version of White, for sure, in my opinion. Now, Omo says, is Atama ready for this level? In terms of skill, yes. But these guys are very tough, you know, so we don't know what Atama's like if he gets into the trenches with one of these big, tough men. But in terms of skill, absolutely 100%. So here we go. It goes to a decision. Will they give it to Joyce or Hrgovic? I've got a horrible feeling they're going to give it to Joyce. They're going to give it to Joyce, you know, chaps. Oh, dear. It should go to Hrgovic, all things being fair, but oh, dear. Something smells bad. Here we go. '97, '93, that's wide. Wow, wide. Surely Hrgovic if it's that wide. Yep, Hrgovic got it. Hrgovic got it, and the cards were, I think, relatively fair. I think Hrgovic definitely won the vast majority of rounds in that fight, for sure. I don't think the cards were that bad at all. I mean, I just think that they were running with a ridiculously pro-Joyce narrative on the commentary, and they all started believing their ridiculous narrative with the absurd scorecard of Carl Frampton. I mean, what on earth was he smoking to make out as though there was only 1 point in it going into the final round? I mean, it's ridiculous. To me, that was quite a clear Hrgovic win. I think at the very best, you could give Joe Joyce 4 rounds in the fight, at the very best. Hrgovic doing the post-fight interview here. Hrgovic knows he's been in a fight, though. Big juggernaut made him work hard. Let's see what Sanchez says. A touching moment there between fighter and trainer. Hrgovic and Sanchez. All right, Hrgovic calling out Dubois for the rematch. Now, Biggest Ank says his English is pretty decent. Yeah, Hrgovic's English for the past few years has been pretty decent. Then again, Alan Babic's English is pretty good as well, right? So maybe it's a thing with Croatians where they speak English better than most Eastern Europeans. I'm not sure. Joyce confusing himself. So there was somebody in the chat there saying they don't think Hrgovic beats anybody in the top 10. I completely disagree. But expectations are everything, right? There were people expecting Hrgovic to go in there and blast Joyce out. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to be a tough fight. I expected exactly this kind of fight. I thought it was going to be a tough fight and it would go the distance and Hrgovic would win on points. That was my prediction. So I wasn't disappointed by what Hrgovic did there. He did what I expected him to do. And I think Hrgovic is a player in the top 10 of the heavyweight division for sure. Just listen to Warren here. All right, he's eulogizing here. Shout out to Matt for the super chat. He says, Hrgovic looked horrible. Also, how is Joyce still wanting to fight? Time to retire, man. Those legs were rotten. Shout out to Matt. Personally, I thought Hrgovic looked okay. I didn't think he looked amazing, but I didn't think he looked horrible. But again, it all depends on what you were expecting from the fight. I was expecting the fight to be like this. I was expecting it to be a tough slugfest that went the distance. But shout out to Matt. Yeah, so Hrgovic's gas tank, he definitely doesn't have the best gas tank in the world, but in this fight, he was basically able to take rounds off because Joyce is so slow and so inaccurate. So he was able to pace his way through the 10 rounds against Joyce and still come out with a win. But against an opponent who's more consistent, he won't get away with that. So a high work rate would definitely be Hrgovic's kryptonite. Hrgovic, I'm sure, prefers a slower pace. Shout out to Danny for the super chat. He says, called it UD. Joyce took so much punishment, dominated from start to finish, except when he was taking a break, had it 8-2. And shout out to Danny. Matt says, would you want to see the Dubois rematch if he gets back to it? Hrgovic landed a lot on Daniel and might be able to KO him next time. I would like to see the rematch, but I think that Hrgovic needs to beat somebody in the top 10 before he deserves that, even as a voluntary defense for Dubois. I don't think Dubois would necessarily take it as a voluntary defense. He beat Hrgovic already. So Hrgovic might have to maneuver himself into a mandatory position. So I'd like to see Hrgovic, fight a couple more people in the top 10, at least one more, and get some wins, more wins over somebody more highly ranked than Joe Joyce. But yeah, if he keeps winning, I'd like to see a rematch with Dubois at some point, for sure. First fight was a good fight. Shout out to John for the super chat. He says, go to Adam Booth. He's the best. The Dark Lord. Who are you saying should go to Adam Booth? You saying Hrgovic should go to Booth? I think Hrgovic is in good hands with Abel Sanchez, to be honest. But yes, Adam Booth, the Dark Lord, from back in the David Hay days. That's what he used to call him. Shout out to Matt for the super chat. He says, I'd like to see Hrgovic challenge the winner of Miller and Wardley. That would be good. But apparently the WBA are looking to have a little mini tournament, which Wardley Miller is part of. So as I understand it, and this is being reported by Boxing Scene, and I think the Ring Magazine might be reporting it as well, they're looking to match Wardley against Miller. That fight is made and announced. And Kubrat Pulev against Michael Hunter. And the winner of those two fights will face each other. That's what's being reported by Boxing Scene. So, yeah, I'd like to see Hrgovic fight the winner of Wardley against Miller, but I don't think we're going to see that, at least not the way things currently stand. It'll be the winner of Wardley, Miller versus the winner of Pulev against Michael Hunter. Ayed says Delicious was the biggest loser on this card. In fact, yeah, let me talk about Ori. I'm going to call him Ori because his first name is crazy. So, I've spoken briefly about him before. I did see him in the amateurs. I saw him in the Olympics. And I was never impressed by what I saw. Nothing about Ori stood out to me. There was no aspect of his game that jumped out at me and thought, okay, this guy is going to be a real talent in the pros. And after seeing his pro debut, I'm of the same view. There was nothing particularly impressive there at all. The power didn't seem very impressive. The speed didn't seem very impressive. The boxing IQ didn't seem very impressive. His right hand in particular, Ori, was very telegraphed and forced. Now, you could say it was his pro debut. Maybe he was nervous. But this is a guy who is an Olympian. This is a guy who boxed at a high level in the amateurs for a long time. With that type of amateur background against such a low-level opponent, you'd expect him to be a bit more relaxed if nerves were the problem, you know? As I say, I saw him in the Olympics in the amateurs, and he didn't impress me then. He definitely did impress me on his pro debut, but best of luck to him. Maybe he'll, reveal some talent in the future, but I can only go by what I'm seeing right now, what I've seen so far. And what I've seen so far doesn't seem that great to me. Don't know what you guys think. Shout out to Matt for the super chat. He says, I don't like the Hunter fight. He's been out of the boxing scene for too long. Well, actually, he has been fighting in weird matches, and the last time he fought was against I can't remember the guy's name. What's the last guy that Michael Hunter fought and he barely threw a punch? Somebody in the chat, please remind me. An American fighter, black American fighter who Hunter fought last year, I think it was. GMS Nightmare, shout out to you for the super chat. He says, predict Moses Itama versus Hrgovic and Ori versus Wilder, Joyce versus AJ. That's 3 predictions. I'll give you 1 out of the 3. I might even take Itama over Hrgovic right now. But that's a big bit of speculation because we've never seen Itama go 10 rounds and Hrgovic has got an iron jaw. So he's going to have to go some to get Hrgovic out of there. But I would go Itama. Shout out to GMS Nightmare. I'll go Itama over Hrgovic right now. Shout out to you for the super chat. Shout out to Matt for the super chat. He says, David Adeleye looked terrible. Jack Rafferty really needs a step up, as well as these fighters are undefeated trash cans. Adeleye did look terrible. He did look terrible. He was totally outboxed. He looked confused in there. He couldn't get anything off against Jamie TKV. And he was given a gift by the referee, basically, who called break. Adeleye punched on the break, but, the referee called break, but didn't separate the fighters. So it was a horrible piece of refereeing, which Adeleye was able to capitalize on. But that result might get overturned. So I completely agree with you. Adeleye looked horrible. Brian Haynes says, Moses is so overrated. Well, we'll find out in due course. But personally, I think Moses Itama, at the very least, is going to win a world title. Brian Haynes says Itama hasn't done anything. Yeah, he hasn't done anything. We are basing what we think of him mainly on potential. But we can at least compare his performance to a common opponent that he shares with Filip Hrgovic, and that is Dempsey McKean. Filip Hrgovic stopped Dempsey McKean in round 12. In McKean's very next fight, he fought Moses Itama, and he got blasted out in 1. Styles make fights, of course, but it gives you some type of measuring stick. I think Atama is a prodigy. I think he's fantastically talented. Obviously, there have been many talented fighters that have come along over the years that haven't fulfilled their potential. But for me, Atama looks like a tremendous talent. Matt says, do we know anything at all about Atama's chin? We know nothing about his chin. So there's loads of question marks over him. Absolutely there is. And we need to find these things out. Shout out to Ivan. He says, respect Hatman. What's your opinion on Hrgovic's cardio? I think it's awful. It's not the best. I've seen heavyweights with worse stamina, like Zheli Zhang. But yeah, Hrgovic's gas tank is not the best. Cloud says TKV was robbed. And I think most people in the chat would agree with you. The referee called break. Adeleye landed a punch after break was called. For some reason, the ref administered a count when he shouldn't have done. It was a punch after the break. Okay, B says, Itama might have problems with Jalalov and Kabayel. I think that Jalalov and Kabayel would be far too much for Itama right now. As talented as Itama is, he doesn't have enough seasoning, in my opinion, to be going in there with a Jalalov or a Kabayel. Not yet. Those two guys are far too experienced. With Jalalov, it's more so the amateur experience. But Kabayel in the pros, yeah, for me, Atama's not ready for those guys. Shout out to Matt for the super chat. He says, Rafferty's opponent, O'Regan, literally fought at a hangar venue in Wolverhampton with like 100 people against a 4-24 opponent. O'Regan opponents, 114 wins, 531 losses. Tell me how that makes sense. I didn't actually see, in fact, I might have seen a little bit of the fight. I'll have to go back and watch the whole thing. I saw Rafferty stop O'Regan. Rafferty was the one with like plaits in his hair, right? So I saw him drop the guy and whatnot. I didn't see the whole fight. I only saw bits and pieces of it. So they go backstage to Parsons again. He's loving it. Parsons is a really odd-looking guy. But shout out to Charlie Parsnips. He's living the dream. Shout out to Matt again for the super chat. He says, O'Regan was 14-0 as well against these fighters. He was not ready for Rafferty. Rafferty is 25 fights in. Feed him to the dogs or forget about him. You'll have to go back and watch that fight fully, because I did see knockdowns and whatnot, but I didn't get to watch the whole thing. Shout out to Matt as usual. As always. Why does Parsons get interviewed behind the scenes? I don't get it. This is weird. Parsons should be interviewing fighters, but somehow you got this girl interviewing Parsons. Parsons ambition is to smash, right? That girl there, what's her name? Ali Drew. That's Parsons. That you could just, it was written all over Parsons' face. That was his ambition. He's trying to smash. Surely he won't succeed. Surely Parsons will not succeed in his quest to smash Ali Drew. Shout out to Matt. He says, I'm just saying that Queensbury fighters seem to take a long time to really build a resume, especially British level boxers. Move them a bit faster is all I ask of Frank. Well, that's the thing. Frank likes to go the traditional route, and he doesn't like to move you up unless he thinks you're ready for a move up. I guess you prefer the Eddie Hearn approach, where ready or not, he's going to throw you in there anyway. UFC style. Matt says, I like what they are doing with Moses, but other than that, okay, I see what you're saying, but personally, I think they have a sensible approach. Black Dynamite says Parsons looks like he's from the medieval era, looks like a peasant. The Celtic Magician says frothing from the mouth, bless him. Charlie Parsnips. Matt says, yeah, Eddie does it right there. Moving prospects faster to find out whether they're any good or not, rather than, I guess, your view would be wasting time with fighters who aren't going anywhere. Matt says, I think UFC style is high risk, high reward, though. Shout out to Surviving Sobriety. He says, can't relax on the inside. Make the ref break it up. Okay. I hear you, but I still think it was a gaffe by the referee. I still think, the referee is supposed to break the fighters. The fighters are supposed to be separated before the action resumes. So I definitely hear what you're saying. And as they say at the start of the fight, protect yourself at all times. Even after the referee calls break, protect yourself at all times. So I hear you, but I do feel like the referee made a horrible error there. And I think TKV's team has got a pretty strong case to get that result overturned and made into a no decision or a no contest. Shout out to Matt for the super chat. He says, I'm curious what you think about Abdullah Mason and if his next fight should be a Tevin Farmer or Muratalia. I'm excited to see him tonight. Yeah. He's a good puncher. He's rising the ranks well. I can't remember if it was you. I think it was you in the previous stream who asked about Farmer. I think Farmer would be a fantastic opponent for Abdullah Mason. A very tricky opponent, a tough opponent. But that would be the acid test before he starts challenging for world titles for Abdullah Mason. But he's very, very promising. 135 pounds. And yeah, like you, I'm looking forward to seeing him tonight against the Mexican, who's not a particularly great opponent as far as I can tell. Looking at his record, and I don't think I've ever watched him fight before the Mexican he's fighting tonight. But I like the look of Abdullah Mason so far. I always like a puncher. And I think Farmer in particular will be a great opponent. Shout out to Matt for the super chat. Matt also says, I think Vianello will defeat Torres tonight as well. There's a lot of flaws I see in Torres' game that can be easily punished. Also, he ain't Usyk. Well, he definitely ain't Usyk. That's for sure. But personally, I think he'll beat Vianello. I got Torres winning this fight on the cards. Yeah, I'm going with Torres to win. He looks sloppy oftentimes against the opponents he's been fighting so far. Over-enthusiastic. But he does have amateur pedigree. And as he showed in the rematch with Jalilov in the Olympics, when he wants to box more sensibly and be more defensively responsible, he can do it. His head movement was really good in that Jalilov rematch. He did get clipped a couple times and he took a standing count, but for the most part, his head movement was really good. And he actually buzzed Jalilov in the fight, at least once. One of the times was in the first round, where Jalilov was clearly buzzed and he had to hold on. So I think Torres is going to beat Vianello. I'm not counting Vianello out, and I can understand why, not just you, there are several people who are picking, that I've spoken to, that are picking Vianello to win. I can definitely understand that pick. But personally, I think Torres is going to be a little too busy for Vianello, because Vianello, in some fights, he'll start fast, but fade. And that's certainly what happened against Efe Ajagba. He faded quite badly against the Jagba in a fight that he could have won. And Jagba doesn't exactly fight at an incredible pace, does he? So I think Torres' fitness, youth, and activity will win him the day against Vianello personally. But we'll see. We'll see. Shout out to Matt for the super chat. Shout out to GMS. He says, predict Caballero versus Jalalov. Okay, you're always giving me 3. I'll give you 1. That's what we're trying to get. Okay, I'll give you 2. Caballero, Jalalov. Right now, I go Caballero. Yeah, right now I go Caballero over Jalalov. Right now. Because Jalalov is unproven in the pros so far. And I'll give you Ori Fisher. Man, that's a tough one, you know. That is a tough one because Ori really has not impressed me at all. Amateur or pro so far. That's a tough one. In fact, scratch that. I'll give you TKV versus Wilder. I'm picking TKV in that fight over Wilder right now. Yes. Yes. I'll take Jamie TKV over Deontay Wilder on points right now. And Caballero over Jalalov. Shout out to GMS Nightmare for the super chat. Shout out to Surviving Sobriety. He says, I agree. Horrible era. Just in general, can't relax. For sure. Protect yourself at all times. It's one of the first things they tell you. You step in a boxing ring, protect yourself at all times. Well, the last thing the referee tells you normally before you touch gloves and the opening bell sounds. Protect yourself at all times. Mark Hatcher's got Vianello too. So, you know, Matt, you're certainly not alone in picking Vianello. There was somebody in the Element group the other day also picking Vianello. There's quite a lot of people picking Vianello. It's not a ridiculous pick at all. It wouldn't shock me if Vianello won, but I would say I'm 60% sure that Torres is going to win the fight. So, yeah, shout out to Surviving Sobriety, shout out to GMS Nightmare, shout out to Matt. Akea says the Zhang fights ruined Joyce. Awful matchmaking to put him in there with him. Yeah, it wasn't the cleverest move. When you're already mandatory, you don't have to take on any tough opposition. You can just wait for your mandatory to be called and get your title shot. You've already earned it, right? With eliminators. The Joseph Parker fight was a final eliminator with a WBO. Or it was for the interim title. Basically, same difference. And that was a, good opponent. He came through Parker, stopped him, the first man ever to do so. He earned his title shot at that stage. I've got no issue with mandatory challengers or interim title holders, whatever, sitting on their mandatory status until the mandatory gets called. I've got no issue with that. And of course, that's what he should have done. Okay, Shay says, Jalalov had an embarrassment of a performance today. He went the distance with some fat no-name on the Janabek undercard. Yeah, I was aware that he was fighting. I haven't seen the fight. I'd like to watch it. Because that guy he fought, the Ukrainian Hulk, was taken out in 2 rounds, some of you may remember, by Martin Bacoli. That was on the undercard of Lucas Brzezinski versus Alan Babich. Bacoli took that guy out, no problem whatsoever. Yeah, Jalalov needs to get his act together and start taking professional boxing seriously. The man, for some weird reason, is in love with amateur boxing. And he's like 30 years of age. Like, give it a rest. So, we've got the Torres Vianello card taking place this evening. And I may well be doing another live stream for that one. Shout out to Mario. Long time no see, bro. What's happening, Mario? Mario Stoyanov. He's one of the OG subscribers, Mario. Stockholm asking me, did you see that pic of AJ looking less muscular? What did you make of it? No, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. Shout out to Danny for the super chat. He says, did you have a look at Skrilla? No, I didn't. Was it you who told me to look at the other guy? No, it wasn't you. It was somebody else who told me to look at the other guy. All right, let me... You really want me to suffer, don't you, Danny? Let me type his name in here, all right? Let me type his name in. See what comes up. All right. Skrilla Doot Doot. Official music video. Dare I even click it? I don't know why you want me to. Why do you want to punish me, Daddy? To make me watch these things. Oh dear. Let me turn the music down. Let's have a look here. Danny is trying to torture me with the most horrendous music on the internet. Where are we at? Can I find that scene? There we go. Let's, He's not even rapping. He's just like, I don't know what he's doing. It's like hip hop today, rap music today has turned into a parody of itself. It's like Boondocks in real life. For those of you who are familiar with the old animated series, The Boondocks, it's like stuff that they put in the Boondocks, which was like satirical and therefore an exaggerated version of real life. It's all coming true now. It's like real life Boondocks rappers. It's incredible. That guy is awful. I don't know what that is, but that's not rap. I don't know what is going on there. Yeah, Skrilla. Good God. KS says Skrilla looks like he hasn't washed his hair in decades. Mario says that sounds horrible. Unbelievably horrible. Danny says, if I had to listen to his witchcraft music, you have to. You're trying to drag me down with you. Jay says Hrgovic is pillow-fisted. He's definitely not the biggest puncher, is he? I think we can definitely conclude that. Bexy says, Hatman, who's the worst to be stuck in a lift with for half a day? John Fury, Wilder, or Bellew? Fury. John Fury, definitely. Shout out to King. Joey says, Hatman, do you listen to J. Cole or Drake? Nope. I'm aware of their music. I've heard some of their songs over the years, but I'm not a fan of either. King says, do you believe in the death penalty? Personally, no, I don't. I don't believe in it. Because if there's even one miscarriage of justice where an innocent person is executed, it's too many. I don't believe in the state being allowed to have the power to exterminate its own citizens. I'm not a fan of that. Shout out to Ocean Blue. Jackie Boy says, Joyce Hrgovic fight went pretty much how I thought, and me too. I expected that kind of fight. I predicted it would go the distance. I thought it would be a tough slugfest, and that's what we got. Jay says, shame Hrgovic has no power. He has a great chin and defense. Definitely got a great chin. His defense is, I wouldn't say it's great, but maybe against Joyce it looked pretty good because Joyce is so incredibly slow. Hrgovic's defense is fairly decent, I suppose, when he concentrates on it. Shout out to EJ Boxing Live. Long time, EJ. What's good, my bro? Mario says Tony Bellew is a stand-up guy. Tony Bellew is a brave man. Definitely a brave man, without a shadow of a doubt. But he's also an idiotic man. And that's kind of a worrying combination. Somebody who's very brave, but they're also idiotic. Matt says Joyce's lean back had me in stitches. Yeah, it was the most awkward looking lean back I think I've ever seen. The best pair yet, interesting name. Said, who are your favorite UK artists, Hatman? You ever listen to Roots Maneuver and Skinny Man? Did you ever hear Boy in the Corner? Yes, I'm very familiar with all those. Roots Maneuver back in the days, from his first ever track that he did with Black Twang, which I think was Detwork Southeast. Was that the track? First ever track he did was with Black Twang back in the days. Skinny Man, of course, from Mud Fam, very familiar. Boy in the Corner, Dizzy Rascal's first album. Yeah, I've heard all those. Roots Maneuver is kind of an anomaly because from a technical perspective, he's really not a very good rapper at all. But he has a certain, I guess, charm about his style, and he's very eccentric, and he's got a voice that people like listening to. But from a technical perspective, Roots Maneuver is not very good at all. So it's really his character and the weird stuff he says on his tracks that draws people in. Skinny Man technically is a pretty good rapper, always was a pretty good rapper, but I was never really that into his music, to be fair. But he did a lot of features back in the days and what have you. In more recent times, he's had beef with Rodney P. They collaborated on tracks back in the days, and now they're beefing. And Boy in the Corner, yeah, I liked Boy in the Corner when it came out, although I don't think it's aged particularly well. That's Dizzy Rascal's debut album. Mario says, I love listening to Tony Bellew interviews. Mario says, Roots Maneuver was great. Was an underground star in Bulgaria back in the days. Good times. Yeah, Roots Maneuver has a big following in many countries around the world. And like I say, people fall in love with his character on the tracks. You know, from a technical perspective, he's not going to give you the most amazing flow. He's not going to give you the best punchlines and, you know, technical ability with his rapping. But he's got a unique voice, engaging voice, and an off-the-wall, quirky personality that comes across in his music. One of my favorite Roots Maneuver tracks is from his first album. His first album was called Brand New Second Hand. And one of my favorite tracks is called Strange Behavior. I often find myself reciting the lyrics in real life after encountering people. Even earlier on today, some weird guy at the supermarket. I was like, what the frig is with the strange behavior? Seems like the planet's gone mad. What you staring in my face for? I told you, dudes, I can't save ya. What the frig is with the strange behavior? Seems like the planet's gone mad. What you staring in my face for? I told you, dudes, I can't save ya. What the frig is with the strange behavior? Akea says, just saw a Dylan White interview saying Joyce won the fight. Yeah, God knows what he was watching. Too many shots to the head. Another Roots Maneuver track I like, Juggle Things Proper. That's from his first album. What's the other one that goes, Ticka Ticka Tock, My Golden Pen? I like that track as well. Colossal Insight. That's the title track from maybe his third album. So his first album was Brand New Second Hand. Second album was Run Come Save Me. That's the one that has Dreamy Days on it. Third album, I think, was Colossal Insight. Correct me if I'm wrong. I like the title track, Colossal Insight. R. Jermaine says, Sinny Sin Sins is one of my favorites. Did you grow up in a religious household? Is that why you relate to that track so much? Because Sinny Sin Sins is basically Roots Maneuver's critique of Christianity, maybe? I guess that's how you could describe it. Shout out to Brad for the super chat. Big up, big up. Yeah, I've seen Ardill's comment there. I don't even want to mention what he said unless I get it confirmed, because there's a lot of people that show up in the comments and they're just trolling. So, although when somebody said that George Foreman had passed away the other day, that turned out to be true, obviously. So I always ask people where they're getting the information from. Jackie Boy says, Joyce never seems that gutted about losing. He's not a very emotional character, you know? Even when he wins, he's not very emotional. So when he loses, you can't expect much emotion either. He's very has a very even temperament. Shout out to Ben. He says, Parker versus Joyce rematch, who you got? I'd have to go Parker. Now. The best pair yet says, what would your ring walk music be, Hatman, if you were a pro? Roadside G's rider music? No. There are several possibilities. One of them would be a track by a reggae artist called Warrior King. And the track is called Can't Get Me Down. So that might be one of them. Another one would be a track which featured in the movie Gangs of New York called Shimmy She Wobble. It's like what's the genre of music? Piping, is it called a fife and drum or something like that genre? But anyway, it's a drum heavy, it's like got kind of military drumming in it from the, it featured on the soundtrack of Gangs of New York, so that's another possibility. Another one would be anything by MOP. They got a track called Power, G Building, a bunch of MOP tracks from their album Warriors. I'll pick anything off there. Shout out to Harry. Pro Cala says, what do you think of Usyk's song? I don't vividly remember Usyk's ringwalk music, but I just always remember his outfits are very impressive. He comes out with these like Cossack warrior outfits, which I really like. You know, I like when people come out with a traditional warrior attire from their culture. Black Dynamite says, Chisora ringwalk music always used to pee me off. Hotel California, you don't like it? Jay Silver says Wilder's outfits were hilarious. Yeah, they were just silly. Wilder's outfits were always very silly. Stockholm says, Hatman, what are your thoughts on Ukrainian heavyweight Vladislav Serenko? The name sounds familiar. I may have had a look at him, but I can't remember him off the top of my head right now. So I'd have to look at him again and remind myself of who he is. But I'm pretty sure somebody's mentioned him before and I did look him up, but I can't remember him right now. And Mario says Serenko is trained by James Ali Bashir. Okay. Joey says, Hatman, what next for Joyce? What next for Joyce? He didn't sound like he wanted to retire, did he? In a post-fight interview at all. There was no indication there that Joyce was looking to retire, even though his promoter Frank Warren was saying he needs to have a serious think about his future. Joyce was talking about a rematch. You know, it doesn't sound like he wants to pack it in. So, I don't know, man. I would say one more loss and then maybe pack it in. One more loss and pack it in. Because he does still have 2 great wins, doesn't he? Over Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker. So maybe if he can get a fight against one of those guys for a final big payday and then pack it in. If he loses. And Michael says, is Itama more talented than Dubois? That's a good question. For his age, 1,000,000%. So Daniel Dubois at 20 didn't look as good as Moses Itama does at 20. But we have to see how Itama's talent develops over the course of his career to really be able to answer that question most fairly. But if you compare them when they were both 20-year-olds, Itama looks far more talented to me. Jay Silver says Parker should avenge his losses against White and Joyce. That's easy money. Yeah, you reckon so right now, innit? I'd have to agree with you. It seems like easy money right now. Pro Keller says, what do you think of Usyk's performance versus AJ first time around? Do you think it's an all-time great performance? If so, what about it made it that? Certainly one of the best heavyweight performances in recent memory, I think. But you could say that about his performances against Fury too, particularly the first fight. What made the AJ performance so good? He was perpetual motion in that fight. For me, that was the best version of Usyk we've seen at heavyweight. I don't think he's ever performed as well as that since. He's still been very good, obviously, but in that fight, he literally did not stop his head moving or his feet moving for the entire 12 rounds. Constantly. Even in the 12th round, his head was doing that pendulum motion, that metronome motion for the whole fight. So his head movement, his accuracy, his work rate, boxing IQ, it was all there. Punch variety. For me, that was Usyk at his absolute pinnacle. It was the first AJ fight. Ocean Blue quoting Rob McCracken, brilliant boxing AJ. As AJ's getting tattooed. Pinged all over the ring. Rob McCracken's like, brilliant boxing AJ. King says, do you like wrestling? What is better for self-defense, boxing or wrestling? I'll probably say wrestling. In a one-on-one. If you can get a one-on-one, I reckon wrestling is better. But in the streets, you might not necessarily get a one-on-one. And therefore, it would be dangerous to tackle somebody to the ground if there's other people around that could kick you in the head. You really want to stay on your feet in a situation like that. But I would say wrestling. And do I like wrestling? No, I don't find it very entertaining to watch two men rolling around on the floor. But to each his own, I don't find it entertaining myself. Now, if you're talking about WWE, I love that kind of wrestling. Obviously, that's not real combat sport. It's, pantomime, theater. But I was a huge WWF, as it was then, fan growing up in the 80s and 90s, particularly the Attitude Era. Shout out to Danny. He says, how dangerous is Rica, and do you plan on visiting any other Latin American countries? Well, I have, because, you know, when you do the visa run, when you're on a perpetual tourist visa, as many people are in Costa Rica, I've met people that have been on perpetual tourist visas for like 15 years, if you can believe that. Yeah, so it's like a loophole that they have no intention of closing, because so many people that use it are bringing a lot of money into the economy. People that have money, particularly from the United States and Canada. So, and they actually extended the tourist visa. Now, it used to be 3 months, but a couple years back, they extended it to 6 months. So you just turn up. If you've got a British passport anyway, or American passport, you don't have to apply in advance. You just turn up and bam, 6 months. And when you want to do a visa run, you can fly to, or take a bus, or, you know, take a bus to the border and walk over the border, right? Cross the border into Nicaragua, Panama, back and forth, and then come straight back. Spend an hour on the other side and come back. And how dangerous is it? I mean, overall, it's a lot more dangerous than the UK, but most of the crime is concentrated in areas which gringos would never go. Particularly on the Caribbean coast. There's certain areas and towns there where, like I say, if you're a gringo, you've got no reason to go there. If you do, you might find yourself in trouble. So, like I say, if you stick to the gringo areas, it's very safe. Very, very safe. But if you want to, for whatever reason, go to one of these non-gringo areas where poor Costa Ricans live, then F around and find out. It's that kind of deal. Danny says, how does the visa run work? Do you need to check back in with immigration officials? You literally cross the border, and you know, if you don't mind spending money, and flights are relatively cheap, but some people don't even want to spend the money on flights. They'd rather just catch a bus to the border and then cross over. It's as simple as you cross the border into the country. They might ask you a couple questions. You spend half an hour there. Sometimes people don't even spend half an hour, literally 5 minutes, and they come back. And that's it. They stamp your passport again. There you go, another 6 months. Easy peasy. But obviously it depends on what kind of passport you have. You know, if you've got a British or American passport, you're unlikely to have many problems. If you don't have such a strong passport as that, then you might have problems. And occasionally, particularly if you cross the land border, if you're ever going to have a problem where, you know, the border official doesn't want to give you the 6 months, because it's at their discretion. They don't have to give you 6 months. If you're ever going to encounter a problem, it will usually be at the land border. Yeah. If you use the air border, the airports, I've never known of anyone having a problem. So yeah, like I say, you do the visa run, you either cross the northern border into Nicaragua or the southern border into Panama. Take your pick. Shout out to GMS Nightmare for the super chat. He says, how far would, let's say, a 1.5 per month salary take you in Costa Rica? What's the cost of living out there? It's not. It really depends on whether you can avoid being gringo priced. And the standard thing is, in most developing nations, is you are going to be overcharged by the locals for everything. When you go into the local stores, they'll often try and overcharge you. The cabs will try and overcharge you. And certainly landlords will try and overcharge you. When you're coming with an American passport or a British or any kind of European passport, they look at you like some type of walking ATM. All right? And so when you're getting gringo priced, it's really not very cheap at all, especially in the gringo areas. It's quite expensive, comparable to living in the UK, actually. But once you befriend some locals and you get them to speak to landlords on your behalf and get them to get you a price, then you can live very cheaply. You can rent a place for $400, $500 a month easily. And obviously the price will go up and down depending on the area. But if you're willing to live in Tico areas rather than gringo areas, it's a lot cheaper. Shout out to GMS Nightmare. And overall, Costa Rica is a very nice, relaxed, laid back, kind of beach bum, surfer vibe country. They don't have a standing army. Just to give you a bit of a background on the type of vibe that it is. There's no standing army. There hasn't been a standing army, I think, for whatever it is, 40 or 50 years. The police are armed, but they don't have a military. And generally, Ticos are very chill, laid-back people, friendly, very open to conversations with strangers and whatnot. So it has a very nice vibe. You know, the first time I set foot in Costa Rica, I liked it immediately. Just the vibe of the place. Jazz says, what's the job market like out there? I don't know. You wouldn't want to work. You won't want to work in Costa Rica, bro. Unless you're working maybe for a gringo. But then again, they employ Ticos for a fraction of the price. So you wouldn't want to. You don't want to work as an employee. It's going to get techers. You really need to have an online business. For a lot of developing countries, you really need to be having an online business to make it work. Bexy says, my area in Lima, Peru is safe, but the gangs are powerful again. Like 10 years ago, there's been some jacking 10 minutes from me now, sadly. Yeah, El Salvador has all of a sudden gone from being one of the most dangerous countries in the world to actually one of the safer countries in Latin America in a very short space of time, due to a president that came in a few years ago who took an extremely hard line on the gangs, and he locked everybody up. And the prisons in El Salvador were hellholes to begin with. Imagine how more extreme a hellholes they are now, with damn near all the serious criminals locked up in those ridiculously overcrowded jails. Yo, crazy. And they must be gunning for his head. I can't imagine how seething the gangs in El Salvador are with the president, you know? Because he came in and he went 10 toes down against the gangs. And it takes a brave man, even a politician takes a brave man in Latin America to go 10 toes down on the gangs. Very brave man. You won't find him doing that in Mexico. Nobody's trying to go 10 toes down on those Mexican cartels. They're extremely powerful. I mean, the cartels in Mexico are just, they're so ubiquitous in many parts of the country, and they're such an integral fabric of the economy. This is what a lot of people don't understand. You know, a lot of the hotel resorts are owned by cartels that you might book a holiday at. It's actually some cartel that owns the damn place. Massive resorts. Even in America, in the United States, Mexican cartels own loads of stuff. They own cinema complexes, you know, giant shopping malls, all sorts of legitimate businesses, particularly on the West Coast. Yeah? And close to the southern border. Major, massive businesses are owned by Mexican cartels. And you wouldn't even know it. You know, you go into some big shopping mall or cinema or a hotel chain, you'd have no idea it's cartel owned. But that's how powerful they are. Danny says, I checked online and it said the visa-free stays. I checked online and it said the visa-free stay is 90 days per 180-day period. I thought most were on digital nomad visas for long-term stay. Virtually nobody's on a digital nomad visa. They have a digital nomad visa that they introduced recently, but I have never encountered anyone that's actually on it, because bureaucracy, as is the case with most developing nations, the bureaucracy is extremely frustrating and slow. So if you want to apply for something like a digital nomad visa, first of all, you need to hope you don't get ripped off by whichever Costa Rican lawyer you hire to help you with the process, you know? It just seems like more hassle than it's worth. There are certain advantages. If you get the digital nomad visa, for one, you can open up a Costa Rican bank account. And there are other advantages that you get. But I don't know anyone that's actually done it. Because the perpetual tourist visa thing is just so easy. Like, most people just stick with that. Shout out to Am I Dead Yet? Ariel says, Hatman, do you like soccer or soca? Are you saying soccer is in football? I assume you're saying soccer like football rather than soca, the music, the Caribbean music. Because the way you've spelt it, it's as if it's like the music. Oh, the music. Okay, soca. I'm not really a big fan of soca, to be honest. Not really a big fan of soca. You know, soca's like carnival music. it's almost exclusively played at Carnival. I mean, the only time you'll ever hear soca in a club is literally in the Caribbean. I guess there might be the occasional event in London or wherever where they have a soca night, but it's not as popular as it used to be. Generally, definitely in London growing up, the only time you'd really hear soca is at Carnival, at Notting Hill Carnival. And soccer, I like soccer a bit more than soca, but I don't follow football. I used to watch it a little bit in the 90s, but other than that, I don't really follow the sport. Jazz says, what about Afro beats? Yeah, I like Afro beats. I like Amapiano. I liked Azonto, which was like a Ghanaian version of Afrobeat, subgenre, however you want to describe it, that was big a few years ago. But these days, it's really about Amapiano. They've kind of taken over from West Africa. So Amapiano is like the big powerhouse African music genre right now, Amapiano. Jackie Boy Johnson says, what's the most popular sport in Rika? Football. Unless there's something I'm missing. Yeah, it's football. Not that they're very good at it, but there you go. KS says, who's your favorite dancehall artist? Probably Capleton. Shout out to Lawrence King for the super chat. He says, I watched Holyfield versus Dokes last night randomly. It's crazy how good we had heavyweight boxing in the 90s. Crazy that these two are top 10 today. Okay, so you're saying that they would be top 10 today. Holyfield and Dokes. Yeah, Michael Dokes was a very talented fighter. Very fast hands, great combination puncher. But he was not a clean liver. He blew up in weight all the time. He often fought with his big pot belly looking like Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks. And he had a problem with nose candy, marching powder. So that was the story of Dokes, as with so many 80s heavyweights. Just couldn't stay off the marching powder. Shout out to Danny Gallagher. He says, evening Hatman. Adeleye versus Joyce for the British. Who you taking? Joyce? Based on their recent performances, I gotta go Joyce. Adeleye looked poor against TKV. I mean, we do have to big TKV up for that boxing performance there. It wasn't scintillating in terms of excitement, but it was effective. He used a very educated jab, head and body. He was kind of slick in there, tactical clinching. So, you know, we have to give TKV some credit. But at the same time, Adeleye just looked lost in there. He was getting totally outboxed and he didn't know what to do. And he needed basically a favor from the ref, which is what it was, allowing him to get away with a punch on the break. Now, Jackie Boy says, Hatman, how do you think Atama would do against Adeleye and TKV? I think he would have beaten them both. Not on the same night necessarily, but yeah, I think he'd beat them both. 100%. He'd beat Adeleye and he'd beat TKV. I think he'd have more trouble with TKV, but I think he'd beat him too. Because TKV, as he showed there, he is quite a tricky boxer when he's on the job. And he came in for the Adeleye fight, the second lightest weight of his career. The lightest he's been since 2022. So the lightest for 3 years. So he really took it very, very seriously, TKV, and he upped his game against Adeleye. No doubt about it. But yeah, going back to what Lawrence King said, Holyfield and Dokes. It was a great stoppage by Holyfield. You had two of the best combination punchers of the 80s and early 90s fighting each other. Dokes was past it by the time he fought Holyfield, don't get it twisted, but he still had that combination punching ability and those fast hands. And you saw them on display against Holyfield in that fight. Some very good exchanges between the pair of them. And Holyfield, again in his prime, a fantastic combination puncher. So there were some great exchanges in that fight. Beautiful, creative, fast, snappy combinations from both men, Holyfield and Dokes. Shout out to Lawrence King for the super chat. Again, he says, TKV had a good jab tonight, but I could just see Adeleye hook KOing him at some point. It was the writing on the wall. Well, you saw better than me, I can tell you that, because going into that, was it the 6th round? It was looking bad for Adeleye for me, because all of his attempts at landing the hook up to that point had missed badly. And TKV seemed comfortable in his boxing. I hadn't given Adeleye 1 round in the whole fight going into the 6th. Not 1 round. But if they are to have a rematch, let's say the result gets overturned and is made a no contest. If they are to have a rematch, it will be very interesting because not that Adeleye didn't believe it already, but now he knows that he's got the power to end TKV with 1 solid shot. And TKV knows that now as well. That all it's going to take from Adeleye is 1 solid shot on the chin and he can end the fight. Effectively, right? So that might change the dynamic a little bit of a rematch. And Adeleye also will know how good a boxer TKV is. I know they sparred in the past and all that, but for me, that's the best version of TKV I've ever seen. I've never seen him box that sharply before. So Adeleye will know better what to expect as far as TKV's jab and all that kind of thing. And he may elect to box a more physical fight next time. Rather than, because for the first, 4 rounds? Or 3 or 4 rounds, Adeleye was trying to box. And it wasn't working. Like, at all. So surely in a rematch, he would try and be far more physical and have a whole training camp of being, trying to impose himself on his sparring partners a lot more. Because the boxing with TKV don't work. TKV is too slick for him. His boxing brain is too good. So if Adeleye goes out there from the opening bell in a rematch and just focuses on trying to break TKV down, never mind boxing with him, try to break him down, hit him in the body, hit him wherever you can, it'll be a different dynamic, I think. I'm not saying Adeleye will necessarily win, but they now both know that Adeleye just needs 1 punch to end the fight. Jazz says his eyes are in orbit. Yep, they really were in orbit. TKV was in all sorts of bother. In all sorts of bother. Once that left hook landed, his eyes were in orbit. In separate orbit, yeah. Jay Silver says, Joyce is a punching bag with legs at this point. Drop says, is this the end of Joyce? Probably. But I think he can maybe give it one more go. But if he loses again, then I think he should retire. But he may not get an opportunity at this point, so it might be the end. All right, peeps, gonna draw the curtain on this one. I may well be on later to do commentary for the Richard Torres, Guido Vianello card, which has got Abdullah Mason on the undercard as well. Not guaranteeing it, but I may well, so we'll see. But until then, whenever the next time I'm back on, whether it's this evening or on a different day, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining the conversation. It's been great. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And a special shout out to everyone who donated via Super Chat. All right? Until then, until next time, try and take it easy. And if you get it easy the first time, get it again. I'm out.